Can't stop me now. Can't stop me now. My feet have come too far for you to tie 'em to the ground. Can't stop me now. Can't stop me now. Set my sights on where I'm going at. They turn it back around. Can't stop me.
Good evening and welcome to the Psychic Coffee Shop. We got a busy night tonight with the Psych House of guests. First up tonight is Dr. Nancy. How are you, darling?
I'm wonderful, Aeson. How about yourself?
I'm doing amazing. And your new book, Divine Trust, is out. And it's a short one, guys. You can cover this in an evening. This is great to take if you got to get the car done. And it's not that complicated. You think with your scientific background, I would have needed a dictionary. It isn't. I'm really liking that. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was an orthodontist and I was practicing right on the border of Parkland and Coral Springs on February 14th, 2018, and a mile and a half from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. And one of the moms standing next to me got an alert on her phone and she said, "Oh my God, there's an active shooter at Douglas." So that's that Parkland High School. So they just had their 4-year anniversary of that. But when all the dust was settled, I found out I lost a patient that day and one of my staff lost her sister.
Ooh.
But the whole community, like no one came into the office at all for about 6 weeks. And when they did, the kids had like this vacant look. They were in post-traumatic stress.
Right.
And no one was really helping them, right? But I myself suffered for about 5 days, but I have this bond, this connection. I've been meditating for 4+ decades, and I found my way to have a one-on-one relationship with the divine or source energy. And I went into a deep meditation because I was suffering with everybody else for about 5 days. And I'm like, I got to get a hold of myself. I just had to do something. So I went deep into my meditation and I got answers. And I came out of that meditation realizing I no longer suffer no matter what happens. So I got answers. And I didn't really realize I was going to write a book, but just things started happening. Kids started committing suicide from it. A psychiatrist who was also a patient at the time said, "You watch, they're going to start committing suicide." And I'm like, why? I don't understand it. He said, either they have survivor's guilt or they have this severe anxiety and fear, and they feel like they'll never be safe again and they just can't bear it anymore. So they try to end it. So that started happening, and still no one was really addressing a spiritual basis to get to the root cause. They couldn't really talk about God. They had all these taboos. Well, you could do Reiki on them, but you couldn't talk about God. You couldn't talk about the connection. You couldn't do this, you couldn't teach this. So on my lunch hour through like that whole 2 years afterwards, I would go to the place where we had the first candlelight vigil for all the victims, and I would give Reiki. And I would start to see my visual field start to change. I had no clue what it meant, but my back at the exact same time, my back started giving me major issues. So as a solo practitioner, I decided, you know what, I better get out. So I sold my practice. And 4 days after selling my practice, I timed it with the spiritual retreat. And I went into the spiritual retreat and said, God, I don't know what my next assignment is. I don't know what I'm doing. I just know that my back is pushing me out. I don't know. So it was a 4-day retreat. And on the first day of the retreat, I heard, you're going to write a book on trust. And I'm like, what? I'm a scientist. Writing is my weakest point. Please don't give me this assignment because I'm pretty sure you got it wrong. Okay, me sassing back to.
Yeah, believe me, I done it myself.
I think we all do. Okay, 4-day retreat, second day. I heard, you're going to write a book on divine trust. You embody it. We've been teaching you this for years, and you're going to write a book on trust. So I'm like, yeah, maybe I'm not going to fight with this. So I kind of was quiet, and I was just letting it meld around. Third day, nothing. Fourth day. Last day of the retreat, I heard, you're going to write a book on divine trust. Get up and write these chapters down. And it outlined the chapters for me. So that's how the book came to be.
And that's how a lot of spiritual and divine books come, is it's like, no, you're going to do it. And, My listeners are familiar with my story about how I got kicked out of nursing in 24 hours because Spirit said, no, you need to go give readings. And I went, no, I'll keep working my 120 hours a week. Thank you very much. I need to feed my household at the time. And they're like, no, you're going to go give readings. And yeah, 580 discs later, nursing career ended in 24 hours.
Yeah, see, exactly. You had back issues too?
Yeah, I have 5 herniated discs.
I have 4.
Yeah.
And I had no clue, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, well, thank you very much for being a pain in my ass.
Yeah, but the way I looked at it was, okay, I know it feels bad in my back, but I know if I didn't have that, it wouldn't have pushed me out to do this, to bring this to the world. I would not have. I'd be still sitting in that practice. But when you don't suffer, I need to teach other people. I mean, how many people say they don't suffer no matter what?
Right. And this has happened so many times, and you met Joe before show. I will feel like crap. I will go do a show, and he says about 20 minutes before the show, Aeson mode kicks in, and I'll do the show. I'll get done with the show. We'll get it packed up. He's got about 20 minutes, and then I'm flat on my back in the car.
Oh.
Going, all right, I'm dead. Dead bear riding. Just take me home. But, we just experienced another one of these. What's your advice after living through that 2+ years? And I mean, those kids are still suffering.
Yes, they are. I pulled up in a coffee stand in Jacksonville, and this guy said, "Why are you so happy?" I'm going to be interviewed on my first interview on Roku TV about a book I wrote. And he asked me what it was. And when I told him, he goes, "Oh my God, I have college roommates that are both from Parkland and they're still suffering." He said, "Tell me the name of your book. I'm going to write it down because I'll get it for them."
Right.
So yes. Now here's the thing. When that happened on Tuesday last week, I think it was Tuesday, I didn't know about it until the nighttime. When I found out about it, I'm like, oh my God, this is deja vu. It's almost exactly like there's not a lot coming out. The kids were suffering. No one went in to help them.
Right.
The police were told
40 minutes.
to stay outside. Why?
40 minutes.
I can't believe it. I mean, it was so much deja vu.
And when we get down to it, it wasn't even the police that done anything.
I know.
It was Border Patrol.
I know. And what is going on? And then, then my head goes, okay, I'm just living it all over again. I'm starting to suffer. So I was out of sorts for one day. The next day, they're asking me, what do you want to post to your community? I'm like, I don't know. I'm a mess. I can't post anything right now. But then it started to clear up. When I just relaxed, it started to clear up Wednesday. And then I got a message, and it was so beautiful. So I posted it out. I don't know if you want me to talk about it.
Please do, but understand we can't use certain terms.
Oh, like what?
Well, we can't say the C word that we went through for 2 years, and we're all carrying around the trauma from that. We can't release his name.
Okay.
We don't talk about his name. He is the unspoken.
Right.
Other than that, we are good.
Right. Well, it's very unconventional, Aeson. So I hope you're okay, and I hope
perfectly fine for anything.
And it was like, so what is the answer? Tell me what's the answer? And so if I just say it, I'd rather just read it because it was way more poignant. So I mean, this is all too familiar to me, and I'm like, I'm getting 2 messages. Really 3, because one kept me up the whole night. So I'll go through all of that if you're okay with that.
I'm totally fine.
So it said, we as a collective society need to change the root cause for all these situations of mass shootings. What did we do to create a human being who would do such a thing? It's a very complicated situation, starting with parenting, exposure to video games that delight in the killing of living beings, bullying, young men without strong supervision being able to acquire semi-automatic weapons, social media that glorifies mass murderers, television programs who endlessly broadcast the murders and foster copycat activity, and on and on. I mean, this is just touching the surface.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just so much more that's going on that's obvious to the eye or that you hear on the news.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's way more complicated. At first, I'd love to hear your comments on what I just said.
Well, I think that, it speaks of one thing, and it's the bigger problem. We hear these thoughts in pairs, and I'm tired of them both. I'd rather get boots on the ground, hands in the schools. I'd rather see some education going on, because that's the big problem. Is that we don't care for our mental health. We don't talk mental health. Last night, the network hosted Psychics Say the Darkest Thing, and their topic was mental health. We don't talk about that. We have gone in 100 years from children in factories working and having responsibilities at 13 to they don't work until they're 24 now, but they have no understanding of real world things because we want to shield them from everything, but we don't shield them from shit.
Mm. All right. I mean, I go back to what made a being hate so much that he would do that? What made that? And then, are you familiar with Ho'oponopono?
Mm-hmm. I am.
So we take responsibility. If you see it, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm a firm believer, I'm here to clear
Mm-hmm.
a lot of crap. I'm
Right.
here. I willingly am doing it.
Yeah.
And I do it through my book. I do it through Ho'oponopono. But since we see it, we have to clear it.
Right.
It's a responsibility. It's not just someone else's responsibility. I have to take responsibility. And this might be very, unusual to your listeners. I don't know. But me, and you, and all of us have to take responsibility as though it was us who did it. I mean, that sounds crazy. But
Well, I think we have to take responsibility for what is ours. And what is ours is no more in this world. If a child picks on a child at the end of the street, when we grew up, they had their asses beat by the time they got to the house and told off by every mama down the street. Now, that isn't there. That social responsibility isn't there. So, yeah, I get taking responsibility, but it's taking responsibility for all of it.
Yeah, and I come from unity consciousness. So if I believe I need to take responsibility for things.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I did it all, but if I see it and then clear it, transmute it,
Right.
I have the option to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what my book is really about,
Right.
is dropping it into the energy field that is
Mm-hmm.
source and letting
Right.
source clear it. Very similar to Ho'oponopono or a
Mm-hmm.
Sedona method.
Yeah, the Sedona method is very interesting to look at. Now, you come out of science into the spiritual world. How has been that collision?
It's so strange and it's so beautiful, but okay, so left brain science, right? I graduated when I was 32 years old. I have 6 advanced degrees or certifications.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. And then when I was 16, I started meditating. So I think that started building the right brain.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going down 2 divergent paths, like totally opposite, right? And then I started to see things from the left brain, like quantum physics, started to explain some things that I was starting to have because I was becoming psychic. I'm clairaudient. I'm clairsentient. I see, hear, feel, and experience like vivid things. So I couldn't really explain it, and I didn't have it when I was younger. So I think it was the meditation and the science. And now I feel like I'm intertwining them.
Right. Because, within the psychic world, there used to be a very big thing for the push to have it proven. If you can prove it, then it exists. If you can demonstrate it, then it exists. And then we got, I don't know, I think that it stopped being the big seller. Maybe it stopped being the energy they wanted to put out there. And I think we need to get back to that. I mean, if we look at a lot of the study of mediumship during the early 1920s and 30s, and later on, and bring that back into the culture of the metaphysics, we deal with physics. We're on multiversal transcendent things. They're just now getting this in the standard scientific community. If we converge those, if we look at the butterfly effect or the observer effect of things, we in ourselves can change a lot of what we globally deal with in a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
But it takes that strength that your book talks about. It takes that identity of going, no, we're not having this today. We're not going to sit here and sip our coffee and watch the world burn around us. And taking those leadership capabilities. And I think spirit is activating people to go, enough.
I do
can't just keep tearing down buildings and burying children and tearing down buildings and burying children.
Oh my God.
That process has got to stop.
Okay, so here is also the flip side of this, Aeson.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to have pain to push us to find the answer or the antidote, don't we? If we don't have the pain, we don't move. No. We stay stuck. So that is, in my book, I talk about how all those people at the school that lost their lives and all their families and the surrounding people are all actually heroes because they gave their life for change. They gave their life to push us to find the antidote. Same with this school shooting that just happened in Texas. Yeah, we need to look at this and we need to process it and blossom it and use it for the gift it's really meant to give humanity. It's meant to spearhead us into action and change. It. You're here. I hear I hear how you interview people and what you're talking about. And it's all about change. And it's all about this great waking up. And we're all like coming on online right now.
Right. And we have been coming online. We've been coming online since probably the mid 70s and going, whoa, this isn't the world we created. This isn't everyone looks to government. And I'll think back. The only reason that those weapons are in the hands of the people they're in now, to open Facebook app. Okay. Sorry, we've got a viewer commenting in. Hello, Miss Shannon. How are you? The only reason those weapons are in is because someone forgot to do the paperwork because they were banned up until Bush. Okay. We've got to take some responsibility legally, but as a spiritual community, we got to start getting our asses up and moving and leading meditation groups and leading, dealing with children and dealing with understanding. And then we've got to start holding our leaders accountable for the cuts they're making in mental health.
I hear you. Yeah. I think it's like one of the biggest, strongest things that we can do, but we can, take a stand. We can teach it ourselves. We can talk about it. I wanted to talk to you asked about science and Greg Bragdon. I don't know if I'm saying his
Bragdon. Yeah.
He's awesome. He's a scientist that talks about all kinds of things. He says that when you meditate, your DNA strands uncoil so that there's actually more available genetic code that can be expressed. And I'm like, well, that's what I'm seeing and sensing, that humanity is up leveling and we're achieving more of our potential. Right. And maybe it's because more people are meditating and teaching it and talking about it and,
and growing it.
Yes. Yeah. Mindfulness is everywhere. Mindfulness is the end result of meditation.
It is. And, mindfulness in itself is actually a practice that's not a new age practice. It's just been repackaged. If we look at Taoism, it's very much mindfulness. We look at, it's a tapping technique.
Oh, EFT?
EFT is tied into mindfulness.
Love that.
If we look at the practices of the Buddhas and the practices of the Taiwan, we bring that in and it's been repackaged, marketed up. I'm quite sure everything has been repackaged and, waking up, remembering, recalling, times of the old. These are all semantics for the same dang thing. curious about the Atlantean theory of life and going, we remember this. We used to do this. And what I find interesting is during the Panini, the first thing, the first thing that people started doing was they went back to gardening. They went back to enjoying their life. They went back to spending time with their children. And then we had the great resignation of, no, I'm not going back to 70 hours a week. My children are more important. How long do you think it's going to take for the rest of the mainstream American to get out of hustle, eat for the job mentality?
Oh, well, I see it. It's happening now. I mean, my vision I've seen is like the 2/3 to 3/4 of the planet lights up with all of our information. Whenever you speak it out like you're doing, and I think it's
Right.
so vital, you're waking up, you're sending out these vibrations that are waking up the whole planet.
Exactly.
It's so important to talk about this, to have scientists, to have regular, non-science people, and then merge the two. I just think it's so critical what we're doing right now.
Right. And I think that we need to get back into the study mentality of wanting to dive into it. I mean, right now, if I think back 200 years, anyone, all they died for was information. Let's get information. Scientists, let's figure this out. How do we get this fluid to this product, to this lead, to this gold? What chemical foundation do we have to do? Archimedes would have killed for the internet.
Yes.
Selling like literally their homes to buy books of information from this or that.
Yes.
Australia information. There is a story of a lord that traded a castle for a book of Arabic scientific information.
Yes.
We have it at our fingertips, but we act as stupid as if we've never had education.
Right. The most sacred knowledge is available at our fingertips. And that's so powerful. We have so much power. And what you're doing is helping, spread it out. I think it's awesome. And what we're doing right now, spread it out. Let's
getting down. Yeah. So what are you doing? You've got the book out. You're doing a bookstore. What else have they got on your work list?
So, well, I'm volunteering. In August, I started volunteering at Parkland to help people that are still affected by that shooting. And I imagine this is going, this past shooting in Uvalde, Texas, is going to open up some wounds.
And reawaken wounds.
Yes. So I'm starting teaching. I'm just volunteering my time to help them. But I also am doing coaching, group coaching, one-on-one coaching, speaking. I'm available to speak. And then, doing this, I'm on my book tour. I'm trying to, get the information out for that. And I do want to tell your viewers that if they buy the book soon, I'm starting a masterclass that's going to be about $300, but they get it free for your listeners.
Awesome.
If they sign up now and get it. There's also 5 other free gifts. It starts June 7th.
Okay. And where do they go to get that?
They buy the book on Amazon, and it's available in Audible or Kindle or paperback.
Right.
And when they do that, they put the Amazon code in, and then they get all these 5 gifts. And
awesome.
So they go to trustthedivine.com. TRUSTTHE. Trust the Divine, DIVINE. I have it written.
Yeah. There we go. It's going out. It'll be in our show notes. And with trustthedivine.com, do you have an idea when you're going to be doing those sessions? Because 2:30 in the morning, 4 o'clock. Where are we at with that?
I'm doing them Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah. So that they can go on there and just book, and they can reach me. Same through the website, trustthedivine.com.
Right. And you do personal on-one coaching, and you got your UC Reiki, your master's in, and that's up and running. So we've got Texas, another battleground. Thoughts, advice for those that are still in that stunned moment?
It's really hard when they're that into the suffering, it's really hard to pull them out. The only thing I am embodying right now is using my book and also the Ho'oponopono technique, which is a clearing technique. Because when we stand for love, when we stand in that energy, we are able to clear it. So we're taking a stand and holding space for them until they're ready to, hear
Right.
this. I could never tell a mom. Even now, the Parkland moms, I could never. If they come to me and ask me, can you help me? I'm like, yes, I can do it. I had, do I have a minute to tell you a
You
process?
have as many minutes, baby, as we need. I
Okay.
can stream for 8 hours on this channel.
So like a lot of the kids would come in and they would talk to me. They had no clue. And I wasn't actively promoting that I was a Reiki master. I was their orthodontist.
Right.
And there was one girl who came in and one day and she said, "Oh my God, I'm having such a terrible day." I'm like, "What's going on?" She goes, "All I can think about is Coach Feist." Well, he was the big guy who he shielded people, and he took the bullets for them, and they lived and he died. And she was, really like, all I can think about is him and what he must have done. And she was like starting to have a panic attack in my chair. And so I have a process where I can read energy. It's part of my spiritual training, which I've been working with a great teacher. Her name is Jetta Molly for about 13 years, something like that, a really long time, where we actually read the energy and dissipate the blockage wherever it is. So I just had her go into her body. I had her close her eyes and breathe, come into the present moment. And then I had her just describe what she was seeing. And so I had her like put a color, a shape, a texture to it. And then we just breathed into it. And I can go into her body with her. I could see what she was feeling. And just the light of my consciousness, so bright and aware and sure and certain of my divine nature, that I could actually see it dissipating just by my light there. And so she thought, we all have that ability to do it. It's in all of us. We all can do this.
Right.
But she actually saw it dissolve in her mind. So then I kept having her describe it. It went away in about 3 minutes, but it started to dissipate. And then, we kept looking at it and, breathing into it. And then at the end I said, "Can you see it?" She goes, "No, it all kind of dissolved and it kind of broke up and dissolved and diffused away. I don't see anything except light." I'm like, exactly. And then she was breathing differently. She was able to walk out of my office coming out of a full-blown panic attack. So
that's the important. My advice is always stop, check yourself, make sure you're hitting the 3 must. You must take a shower, you must eat something, you must drink water, and you must sleep.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's all you need to be able to be doing. And that's going to hit. And this hits every time we have a natural emergency, every time we have a shooting, every time we have a bombing, every time we have a plane crash, and then there's what I call the pillars of light. The pick up, we straighten up, we dust ourselves off, and we go, all right, the door's open. Who needs to talk? Let's rock this. And that's, sometimes some of the harder things is recognizing that when you're a spiritual leader, you don't get that minute to breath, because that's when you need to be getting your hands in the mud, your feet on the ground, and going, all right, what are we doing? How are we doing this? Let's get this moving, because that's the way our society has always ran. For a very long time now, our political world has been trying to run things, but no, it starts with those little ladies in the back of those Catholic churches. It starts with those dining room tables. It starts with those communications. It starts with those cups of coffee and going, so how are you doing?
Right.
This just happened. How's that cut? How's that wound? Did we get a re-injury? Are you going through a panic attack again? Are you sleeping well? Did you take care of your 3 must?
Well, I don't sleep a lot. I get woken up in the middle of the night.
Honey, I just stopped trying to sleep at night. I've gone back to be the imperial self I am and enjoying my nights, sleeping in the mornings.
Oh,
Well, honey, thank you for stopping by. It was really nice to talk with
thank
you.
you,
Now,
Jason.
I know you've got some other projects coming out, so when those come out, be sure to hop back with us. Let's have a cup of coffee and talk about them, okay?
Okay, thank you so much. Take
You're
care.
welcome. Take care. All right, that is thedivinetruth.com to get her book. Now, guys, let's take a sip, and I've got Jerry coming up for a cup of coffee. Hello, Jerry. How are you?
Hi, Aeson. How are you, star brother?
Oh, doing well, doing well. How is it in the UK other than bright and early? Thank you for joining us for this early morning cup.
It's a pleasure. Yeah, I mean, it's awesome at the moment. It's sunny, the weather's good, everything's moving along swiftly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, how is your book? Talk about your book. Talk about who you are. Introduce you to our friends at the table.
Well, first up, it's a pleasure to meet you, brother, and thanks for having me on. And thanks to everybody that's tuning in right now, listening. So, I'm Jerry Sargent, founder of Star Magic Healing. We travel the world and we train people to heal with our healing frequency, Star Magic. We've trained thousands of people in more than 40 countries. We're building healing centers at the moment. The first one we're building is in Transylvania in Romania. We bought land in Madeira in the UK to build more. We're planning on building 13 in total. Me as a human being, I mean, I had a very, very different life before. I was running around, as a youngster, off the rails, involved in all sorts of crazy things, making money. Ego was in full flow, and I was causing mayhem everywhere I went. But I had
But only in the best ways.
it depends on which way you look at it. But yeah,
Well,
I mean,
I'm very much the type of person that looks at mayhem and goes, "Yeah, you've got some lessons to learn." I'm very much one of the types that says that when it gets down to it, the spiritual healers, spiritual teachers, we have to go through some crap, because when we get that woman in there that has 3 different boyfriends, 2 different baby daddies, and we're trying to get her, and she's wanting to change her world, change her life, we got to at least know what she's talking about.
absolutely. I mean, I truly feel that the extremities of darkness that you go to and go through kind of reciprocate on the other side. If you kind of dip your toe into the water and go through a little bit, you may bring a little bit of light to the planet. But if you go deep into down the rabbit hole and into the darkness, then you get springboarded back the other way. So it's all balance, isn't it, bro? It's
It
all balance.
is. It is.
Yeah.
Now, you're building these healing centers. Tell us about them. What are they like?
Well, the one we're building in Transylvania, it's on 15 acres. It's going to sleep 100 people, plus like staff and staff and
Right.
people that come in to help out. It's built out of geometry, like the newer Earth crystal mathematics. The buildings are Merkaba fields, and they're unbelievable. Like you look at it and you think it's like from another planet, But we
Why
find
did you choose Transylvania?
Well, Transylvania is like my ex-wife's Romanian, and like Romania is just a massive, massive place for me because my whole journey kind of started. I was right off the rails in my life, and I was in Romania with my ex-wife and children, and we were traveling from Piatra Neamț in the north of Romania back to Bucharest. And I was asleep in a taxi. Laura and the kids are in the back of the car. And I hear a loud crash. I wake up. There's the taxis like this swaying from side to side. There's glass and there's wind. And I'm thinking, man, we're in a bad accident. Okay. We're either going to hit the oncoming traffic or the car's going to flip. And then all of a sudden we came to a stop. And there's no other cars on the road. I'm thinking, man, this is weird, I look at the taxi driver. He looks petrified. I look in the back. Leia's getting out from underneath the driver's seat, our daughter. Laura had Josh in her arms. Their mouths are full of glass. There's blood dripping down my face, but I wasn't bleeding. And there's a hole in the windscreen. So I get out of the car. I look about 20, 30 meters up the road, and there's 2 ladies lying on the side of the road, and one of them's got her ankles cut clean off. I look about another 100, 150 meters up the road, and there's what looks like a dead body. And what had happened is 3 ladies crossed the road in the morning. The first one came through the windscreen, hit me in the face while I was asleep, got flipped over the car and died. Second one had her ankles cut off, and the third one was physically okay. And this is what started my spiritual journey. So I walked past the two ladies, the one with the ankles cut off. Like a guy had come out. He was on the phone from a nearby factory. Like we were down an old country lane in the middle of the morning. I thought he must have called the emergency services. Nothing I can do. Her ankles on the floor, and I'm fixated on what looks like a dead body. So I'm walking towards it. It's a misty morning. I get within about sort of 10 meters, and I see this energy hovering above the body, which I now know is the soul. I didn't believe in anything spiritual. God, right. The universe, infinite intelligence. It was all like mumbo jumbo to me. But there's me walking up the road, and I'm looking at this soul. So I'm shaking my head, like trying to get it out of my head, but I'm seeing it with my real eyes. And then it kind of just fizzled off into the ether. And by that time, I'm looking down at the body, and her legs are wrapped up over her head. And it's like someone's taken an old car to the scrap heap. Like whatever was in the body, it had no use for this kind of empty, useless lump anymore. And I kind of got to see this like connection and disconnection and what happens firsthand after death. So this kind of woke me up. And then things just started happening in my life. Like I took a headache from my wife's head, and then other people came into my life, and I was doing little things and it was helping them. Then I moved to New Zealand. I had encounters with some extraterrestrials. I learned how to meditate. Came back to England.
What type of extraterrestrials?
I was in a pyramid in my mate's garden. I met this old guy called Michael who taught me how to meditate. And I was sat in his pyramid one day in his garden, and a little space pod landed, and there was a blue being inside of it. It was a lyran. Yeah, it's like the lyran being was about 6.5, 7 foot tall. And I went and jumped in the craft. I took my light out of my body, went and jumped in the craft, and we flew through a portal and ended up on Alpha Centauri. And then I met loads of these lyrans. And this is kind of how healing started. They downloaded codes into my crown, and when they brought me back, like things just started happening. And I used to have a very different life, smuggling drugs and guns and different things. And so going on this journey, meeting angels and fairies and all of these kind of things, like it was a very difficult transition.
Oh, like, very much so.
Part of me wanted to dive into it, but then my ego was like, everyone's going to judge you, everyone's going to think this, you're going to think you're crackers. So it was kind of, I resisted it for a long time, but the universe just kept kicking me up the butt. And then eventually I was like, I just surrendered to it. And then Star Magic was born, you know?
Right. And see, that's the hardest thing is surrender, I think, is to go, okay, if you say so, all right, you're going to have to show it to me. You know, for me, it's always been that show it to me. You know, if it's the Greys, fine, show, you know, Greys are interesting. They're not that entertaining. They have a very bad sense of humor. Different ones are interesting when it comes to that. So what is star healing?
Star magic healing is, well, it's a very playful way of creating change in someone else's reality. Okay. I don't want to call it a modality because modalities are, you know, they're too stringent. You know, every time we go into a healing session, we always ask this question: please show me something I don't know to help me facilitate the healing of this incredible human being. And so you're going in from this standpoint where you know nothing. So every time it's brand spanking new. And what it does, it opens you up to an infinite sea of possibility. The easiest way to explain it is we're able to tap into someone's biological computer. Okay, people have a body and a brain. Okay, we're literally like a computer system tapped into a holographic world. And people have had past lives and future lives and present day life experiences. Some are positive, some are not so positive. But all of these fields of information, they create information streams that are being downloaded 24/7, 365 into the biological computer. So if someone comes to us and says, right, we've got this particular issue or this disease, then what we do is we find the reality field, the past life experience or multiple past life experiences that created the traumatic experience or where the traumatic experience was held that is downloading this negative data stream. So it's like going into the back of the computer, we change the computer code, and then the physical symptoms relieve on the front end. So it's fast, it's efficient, there's no kind of BS, we're just in there and creating the change.
I'm liking that. You know, because I've made comments about my co-host and him being a horse thief too many years. Because he has 2 neck fusions and literally he's way younger than he should have for those. And I'm like, that's because you were a horse thief and got hung too often. So what would you do with that case? How can we change his computer pre-programming to have a broken neck?
Well, say for example, if we take his case, a broken neck. I mean, if you look at the neck itself, the body's a communication device, right?
Mm-hmm.
If someone's got issues with the neck, they're very rigid, they're very restricted, they're very stubborn. You know, these are some of the traits that are
You're
taken
ticking off every box here.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The body never lies. You know, like people will say, "Oh, I've got this issue," and I say, "Well, okay, well, you are like this, and this," and they're like, "No, I'm not." But like the truth is, the body doesn't lie. If someone's got something on the liver, it's anger and guilt. Heart, you know, it's broken heart, love. I mean, the spinal column is support, and depending on where it is on the spinal column, it means different things. Like every single body part means something.
Right.
Kidneys, the fear and flow. So he's a very restricted, like rigid, stubborn guy. So what we would do is we would go in and we would say, okay, we'd ask the question, please show me why, blah, 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 whatever his name is experienced this trauma in his neck to do with rigidity and stubbornness. And, you know, where is the deepest root point in space-time where this trauma is held? And then we connect. And then we'd be shown in the quantum field a past life, a future life, maybe several past lives, one future life, 3 or 4 present day life experiences. And then we'd go in and we'd heal that. So if the soul is in I don't know 1624 and having some kind of experience as a man or a woman on this planet where, let's say, someone was very manipulative and they broke their trust, and so from that point forwards they just didn't trust other people because their trust had been broken, that needs to be healed, because that's one element that's creating the rigidity right now in the neck. So we bring that soul fragment into healing, and then we work through all of these soul fragments, and then the information changes in the biological computer and the neck releases.
Ah, interesting. So you brought up your previous life, you know, running guns, selling drugs, all that. How's that helped you in this business?
You know, it's really interesting because all the way through those years, I never ever went to prison. Nothing like that ever happened. But once I started doing the healing, I was that close to going to prison.
Especially because you're UK based, so you guys got regulations that we would die for over here, but at the same time, I'm sure they're a pain in your ass.
Yeah, I mean, they arrested me like 3 years ago. I had a lady in India, and she had like some cancerous tumors, some fibroids. I did 3 healing sessions at distance. She went back to the doctors, and the tumors had gone, and the fibroids had gone. So she got the medical records, and she did a little video. I put it up on YouTube, put it up on our website, and then a few weeks later, arrested.
Knock. Can't
I went to a court battle with that, but that was really interesting, you know. Because it really woke me up and showed me so much. And I got a private investigator to look into it, and they told me that it was a particular UK cancer charity that had funded the case. So they obviously saw it as a threat. So I saw it as a really positive thing. I thought, I must be doing something right. If they're going to waste their time and their energy coming after me, I must be doing a good thing. So I was like, let's go harder. You know, let's really get stuck into this and go all out there. So, yeah, I saw it as a positive thing, and just, you know, it was a great learning curve, you know.
Oh, I think it's a lovely learning curve. I think it's, you know, I'm one of the psychics in the U.S. Can we get the UK system here, please? I mean, because we get scammers and clotters all the time. Can we please get the regulations? But I found it interesting that you can run drugs that never get caught, but you start doing healing work and the bobbies are at your door faster than anything.
Yeah, it's wild.
So where's the magic come into this?
Well, I truly feel that all of us are just magical, walking, talking miracles. You know, the reason we call it Star Magic, the actual name, is because what happened, I had this experience in the spacecraft, right? And then I came back to Earth, and nothing really happened in my life for a couple of years. And we moved to New Zealand, me and the family, and we set up a health and fitness center. And it was going really well. And I was waking up every morning like, come on, guys, what's next? You know, I was waiting for the next thing to happen. And nothing was happening. So one morning I woke up and I had this real like feeling that we needed to move back to England. So I was pestering the missus and kids and saying, come on, guys, we got to go back to England. And they were like, you're crazy. We've just set up an amazing business. We've moved all the way around the other side of the world. No way. Anyway, so I pestered them for a couple of weeks. And in the end, we moved back to England, put a manager in charge of our gym. And when I got back to England, that's when things really kind of picked up. I started meeting fairies and angels, and this angel told me to write a book called Into the Light. So I went and wrote the book. Then I started seeing all of this code in the empty space. And I was saying to my guides and that, what am I supposed to do with it? They said, you need to meditate more, Jerry. You're just not meditating enough. And for me as a human, I like to always be on the go. So meditation is something that I always push to the side. You know, now I do it all the time, but it took me a while to get into it. So I started getting up at 5 o'clock every morning with my son, Josh. You know, he was young at the time. And we were going to these mystery schools in Egypt. We sat in these classrooms, these little wooden desks, like the one you get when you're like 5, 6 years old at school. And I was looking to the left, I was looking to the right. There was loads of other like human beings in there. And this guy was coming out and he was opening these scrolls. And on the scrolls, there were symbols. And it was the same symbols I was seeing in the empty space and the same ones that got downloaded into my crown when I was an Alpha Centauri with the Lyrans. And this guy was showing us how to use them to heal people. And 2 of the codes in there, one of them meant healing and one of them meant magic. So obviously I'd been to the stars, so it was like the star healing magic. That's kind of where the name came from. But after coming out of these mystery schools, people just started coming into my life that needed healing. And so I was like, let me just see if this stuff works. And it was working and it kept working. So I went to a Mind, Body, Spirit festival. I made up some little cards. I took my book into the light. I didn't call it star magic then. I still didn't really know what to do. I was like very like green with it all. So I made these cards up saying energy healing. And I got some forms, put them out on a desk. And I said, if you write your name down, then you know, I'm going to draw the names out of the hat at the end of the weekend, and 3 people are going to get a free healing. And 70 or 80 people put their name down. So I phoned every single one of them just so I could practice. And I said, you've won. So I had like 70 or 80 people to practice on. I practiced on all those people. It went really, really well. And I went around to all their houses and got video testimonials. And then I set the website up because I had all of these testimonials. And then as soon as I did that, the same blue being that came and picked me up in the spacecraft came and visited me again in meditation, told me the Christ consciousness grid of the planet and all of these 13 healing centers and said, you need to build them. I said, well, if I build them, who's going to run them? He said, you need to train people. So I went home, I opened up my laptop, I designed this training program, and people just came from all over the world. You know? And the being also told me to write Healing with Light Frequencies, the Transformative Power of Star Magic. So I wrote that. I've just been following what these blue beings have been telling me to do, and it's all just working.
Right. You know? And that's the important thing, is to follow that path, that idealism. I have a question for you. Clear something up for me. What's fairies look like? Please tell me they are not Tinkerbells. I prefer the Irish fairy.
I've seen different ones. I remember in our workshop in London a few years ago, there was one, it was about this big and it was golden. And you could literally see arms, legs, wings, a little face, but the face wasn't clear. It was like an outline of a face. And it was very bright in the center. And it was literally flying around in between this guy's legs. I've got a picture of it on my phone. And I've seen them as well, like in nature. And they kind of have different colors. I've seen them kind of silvery and like a turquoisey white. But they're little kind of like light beings that just kind of fly around. And you literally can see the wings and stuff. They literally are like what you kind of imagine them to be like.
But they're not the Disney fairies.
No, they're not really like that, no.
Nah, which is great, because I've been trying to correct people for about 20 years about that's not what a fairy looks like. The last time I seen a fairy, they were either this big or bigger than me. And either way, I'm not pissing them off.
Yeah. I mean, they're so powerful as well. I've only seen little ones. The magic that they create is unreal, you know?
Oh, it very much is. So when's the 13 Healing Centers opening? How do people find out more about them?
Yes, so the first one that we're building at the moment, we've just had all the external 3D models done. So we've actually got a meeting this Thursday to go through all of the interiors. If we agree them with the architects, then they're gonna design the 3D models, and then we can hand it to the building companies and the engineers to price it all up. Like, my plan is to hopefully break ground next year once the snow goes, like March, April time next year. Whether that happens or not, I'm praying it does, but it's close. You know, and it's probably like an 18-month build. It's a big thing. Like it's full on, this healing center. It's got everything in it. You know, it's absolutely out of this world. So yeah, it's about an 18-month build, and where it is in Transylvania, it's like hot in the summer, cold in the winter. So you've got the elements to deal with the build as well. So you know, sort of like November, December, January, probably a bit of February. You can't really build too much, but then the rest of the year you've got like eight-ish months to kind of like get cracking. So yeah, fingers crossed, a year to a year and a half will get it done.
Cool. And how much regulation are you having to deal with each of these individuals?
You mean with the healing centers?
Yes, I mean, because you know you got Romanian or tax laws that you got to deal with there.
Yeah, I mean,
you got UK regulations with the one there, and then I'm sure New Zealand has a thing. I mean, how much are you having to go through all that?
Well, we're just focusing on the one in Romania at the moment. Now, how these bits of land have come about is absolutely unreal. Like the one in Madeira it wasn't available to the public. And what happened is we had a client who had a brain tumor, and the doctors had given him like 8 weeks to live. Anyway, 2.5, 3 years later, he's still alive after we did some work on him. And he knew the president in Madeira. So he phoned up one day and said, listen, well, there's this bit of land that you could buy for a healing center. You know, it's off the market, but blah, blah, blah. So we ended up going and buying it. And he's really on board, and he wants to just, you know, he even built a road because the bit of land is kind of like an island in the middle of a bit of jungle. So he built a 200-meter road for us out of his own pocket to give us access.
Wow.
You know? So like things like regulations seem to be kind of dissolving around this. It's pretty awesome.
Well, you know, that's Romanian government for you, darling. It's who you know and how you can work with them. And I'm sorry, I really like I love Romania. I love the government style. It's still a lot of what I call, yes, that's a regulation, but if you want to do that, then this is what we got to do to make that happen type.
Yeah, I mean, when we went down to the planning office and said, listen, this is what we want to do, what's the best way forward? They just said, build it. And once you've built it, come and see us and we'll sort the planning permission out afterwards. So, you know, like it's a different world. I mean, in the UK, I don't know yet because we haven't even gone down that road, but I'm sure in the UK, there's going to be a lot more, you know, tighter protocols, but we'll cross those bridges when we come to it, you know?
Right. And, you know, there'll be certifications and regulations and registration and documentation, which is your key point here is documentation, because then we can start getting some evidence behind it. So where do people get your books? Where can they get involved with you?
So if you go to starmagichealing.com, then you can get access to our YouTube, Instagram, like all of our social channels. There's lots of free meditations. You can join our trainings. We do them online, offline. You can get the book. You can also get the book from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all the major bookstores. Yeah.
And your local ones. Go in there and tell those local ones to order it up for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's loads of places in America you can buy them. Yeah. All over the world. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, what about your trainings?
The trainings, we do 5, 7, and 10-day trainings. So we got level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4. So first level, if you want to go out and remember how to heal, because I always say to everyone, listen, there's nothing I can teach you. I can only help you remember, because all of this stuff it's locked inside your DNA. It's natural. You know, like no one really taught me this stuff. I just went through some kind of like activations and initiations with these Lyran beings, and things just started happening. And this is what we do to other people. You know, we just help them remember this stuff that's inside of them. So you come to level 1 training and we'll give you a whole heap of tools and tune you into these tools so you can heal yourself, other people, groups of people. Level 2 training is all about like Stargate work, planetary grid work, like more of the collective, and also moving your own frequency to a brand new level. Level 3 training is all about how to show people to take large groups of people through guided meditations, through portals, to travel to other cosmic locations, to healing chambers, to download codes, and how to do it safely and efficiently. That's a really full-on, intense 10-day training.
Right, and that's a very important training that you need.
Very important training.
The other ones firsthand. You can't be jumping in here and going, let's do a whole month of this, and by the time you're going to be overly sick. Hi, Jessica. Joe will be on in a minute. Do you recommend them spacing their levels out?
Yeah,
Like
I
I
mean,
tell my Reiki students, you take level 1, I'll see you in a year and a day.
yeah, I mean, we've trained a lot of people now, and like
Mhm.
we've trained loads of experienced healers, from Reiki masters to quantum
Mhm.
bioenergy healers, everyone in between, from 20 years old to 96 years old. And like everyone can do it. And some people, like last year, we had a few people that went level 1, level 2, level 3, like in quick succession over a month, and some people were great with that. And out of the group that kind of went through all of them, there were 2 people that we had to ask to leave after this on level 2 because it was too much for them. So it depends where you're at in your own journey,
Mhm.
because we've had people that have been doing Reiki for 50 years and they've come to our training and the frequencies just smashed them. Like
Yeah.
everyone says that it's a completely different level. I
Right.
don't know because I've never trained in anything else. I came from where I was straight into this stuff. So I
Right.
can't really comment on that. I can only go by what other people say. But we always get everybody to prepare in a certain way. You can't just come to this, drinking alcohol, having a crap diet, not looking after your body. You need to be a little bit kind of like focused, mentally disciplined. Your frequency needs to be a certain level. But
Mhm.
we've got a meditation library on our website, hundreds of meditations, light language transmissions, and people can tap into those to adjust their frequency ready for the training.
Yeah, and get their mind ready for it. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I know it's very late there, so I'm going to let you go. And I'll see you later.
It's a pleasure, Aeson. Thank you, brother.
Thank you. Hello, Mr. Stubborn. How are you?
Doing okay, doing okay, doing okay. But yeah, no, that was definitely a selection of authors.
It was. I thought they matched up perfectly. Like, I'm
Yes.
sorry. I love talking quantum physics, ideal mythology, alternate universes, healing zones. And what's interesting in both these authors, Dr. Nancy and Jerry, their books are on the same level of connection and connectivity, but two different voices, but with the same ideas.
No, Jessica, you weren't rude. It was actually
You
kind of
weren't
nice to
rude.
be like, "Where's Joe?" Oh, someone actually cares.
When the top and the end.
I'm gonna be funny.
Yes,
Like
you
I don't.
do.
I
You're
don't
our comic relief in all the
oh,
best ways.
okay. I was gonna say. I was like, "Dang, that was a little harsh," but
Yeah, I'm in a mood.
you know,
So, what do we want to take on first? I say we talk about. Did we talk about the jury finding a romance novelist guilty? I don't think we have.
did we? Did we?
No, we did not.
I don't think we did.
No.
Like,
Let's
sorry, I
cover
was trying
that,
to
and then we're
remember.
going to cover my favorite subject.
Alririghty, let me get over there. Sorry, it's been one of those weeks, guys.
It
Like we
has.
say
We've
this
been
every week,
rocking.
but it just doesn't stop.
No, it doesn't. Your favorite saying is when everything slows down, and I keep reminding you, spirit ain't allowing shit to slow down. You need to catch up.
I know, right?
Oh,
All right, so getting there, getting there. Okay, so we got that one. So yeah, I still swear we talked about this.
no, we had not. We went off onto something else.
Did we? I
Yeah.
know we planned to.
We planned to talk about it because I found it hilarious. I
Oh
wanted
yeah.
to know how close it was.
Pardon?
Oh,
Like how close what she did was to what she wrote?
yes.
Okay. Well, because we've covered this, like the first part of this story. Like
Yes,
we've
this was
talked
the
about that.
follow-up.
I know that. But yeah, the follow-up is and to catch y'all back up, so Oregon romance novelist Nancy Brophy wrote a blog post years ago, How to Murder Your Husband. So yeah, she was found guilty of killing her husband in 2018. Here's my thing though, I still feel like the story is wonky.
I think it's insane.
You know what I mean? I like here's my thing. one really bad idea to write an article about how to kill your husband, and then you kill your husband. Like, the really bad life choice. But like
Google's gonna love me.
the Google's gonna love you. Yeah. But I don't know. I don't like. Granted, I don't think this has been well enough reported. To really dig into the like meat and potatoes of the story, or maybe it has. You're googling, but I don't feel like anyone ever pulled out a smoking gun on like she did it.
Right.
Like, I mean, there's a lot of circumstantial.
There's a lot of circumstantial. But see, what gets me is I'm not finding the 700 word post began. Oh, Romance never wrote how to murder your husband is now. Yeah, she was accused of it. She's now guilty of it. We want to see what she wrote.
Oh yeah. Oh, but I mean, like they didn't really have a solid motive.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even she said her husband was worth more to her alive than dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's an insurance policy. Yeah, she gets a little bit of money.
$100,000.
Yeah. I mean,
oh, they didn't get to use the blog. Apparently, there is a blog post. There's a blog post.
Yeah, that's what it was.
But they weren't able to use it as evidence. And I'm like, yes, but I want to know how close it was. Like, did she go point by point, take gun, aim at husband's forehead, shoot him in the head?
Well, and moreover, like, it's gonna have to, like, I mean, granted, I think I speak for the world's, like, coupled and thrupled and other population. If you don't want to kill your significant other, you're lying. Okay? Like, there's, like, we all have a moment where it's like, no, I've already picked out a spot, a murder, like, device of choice. Like, I think we've all had that.
You've put my plan to get rid of you on air.
Yes, repeatedly.
Yes.
I still don't eat salads in private. But yeah, like, here we go, commentary. I mean, I wrote a paper about the perfect murder in college, and my law professor thought it was great. You know? Like, no, I think it's part of the human condition that, it's not all just happily ever after. Like, we got sold a fairy tale. Like, like, these are real human beings. They fart, they snore, they leave their underwear on the floor. I'm a poet. But at some point, like, you hit that moment of, like, the only reason you are alive is because the insurance payout isn't worth it. Because I'm sorry if I'm, like, I know there's stupid people that, like, like, you just have that moment where you lose it. And you really don't care about the insurance payout or anything else.
What
but I mean, like,
payout? I haven't took out any insurance on you lately.
Well, no, but here's the thing. Because, hell, years ago, I had an ex that I flat out told, I said, I have 100. I said, literally in our relationship, I point blank said, you only have to find 25,000 reasons not to kill me. I have to find 150,000. And let me tell you now, somewhere around 99,000, I start really struggling.
Please, I started really struggling after 99.
Oh, dang.
Especially with your ex, honey. I mean, we all know your ex.
Fair. No, sorry. I thought you meant you struggle after 99 reasons to not kill me. And I was like, Well, alrighty then. You know, but no, it
No.
like it's a reality that like there's and it's funny, and we say these things, we don't necessarily mean them,
To
but
pay
I
for
don't know
yourself.
anyone who hasn't. Well, but I don't know anyone who hasn't imagined it. Okay. And according to most therapists, that's fine. When you actually start like buying resources to make this happen, not fine.
Who says to
Like,
buy? Well, first of all, let's cover this one. First of all, you don't buy shit. If you do, you do it by cash over 3-year periods.
well, yeah, but then that's grounds for premeditation. But anyway, hopefully you lose the trail.
That's why
But
you're
that's
paying
not.
cash, and over 3 years. You buy a shovel this year, next year you buy a tarp. Year after that, you buy 50 pounds of lye. You want straight lye, you don't want the recycled shit. Then you buy property somewhere around your 4-ish, up in the mountains, deep in the mountains. You want access property rights to that property.
Alrighty. But moving right along, because this is not how to get away with murder 101. I know you love the actress, but please don't steal her role.
I would play it better,
But anywho,
as I would not get caught. But
well,
anyhow,
there you go.
this
Yeah.
author is currently wrote her story and then killed her husband. Took her 4 years to plan this out, apparently. Well, she wrote it in 2011, and it happened in 2021, so it took her 10 years.
Yeah. Well, but still, again, like, she's an author. She has written apparently a fair amount of things. Like, it just seems like I'm not saying she's being framed. I'm just thinking could very easily be lazy police work. Like,
Well,
I will not be surprised if like they find a literal smoking gun
right.
that gets her out of these like retroactively proves someone else did it.
Right.
Because nothing in this has really strongly said, oh yeah, she totally did it.
Right.
Like, means, motive, opportunity, clear as day. Obviously, she did it.
Well, here's the
Like,
problem.
why? Why did she do it? Money? Not that much.
Nope.
I mean,
Here's the problem. The surveillance video from the business near the Institute in Portland Goose Holler neighborhood shows what apparently is Cambridge in her gray minivan in the area around the time of the murder. The alarm was disarmed at 7:22 a.m. The gray van was seen driving away from the neighborhood at 7:29 a.m. That's only 6 minutes. In her testimony, she confirmed that her van on the surveillance tape. Previously, in her initial interview with policemen the day of the murder, she told them that she was in bed at home writing at the time that her husband was killed. In her testimony, she said she must have driven to Goose Holler neighborhood to write in the park or in her vehicle, but she claimed a memory hole in existence.
I'm sitting here going, there's a lot of things that could be going on there.
Right.
Like, as in, does she take sleeping medication? Does she have a drug problem?
Well,
I mean,
that's
you
a
would
question.
think the day that officers show up at your house would be a very memorable day. I kind of go with, I would think that like any ability I had to remember what the hell I did that day probably blew the fuck up right at, we're sorry to inform you, or we regret to inform you, whatever. I would think that moment would be where it's like, I don't know what I did. I don't know where I went. I got nothing.
Right.
Because what is it like? You know what I mean? Like, and especially, it seems like she is very much a work at home. Because I'm not seeing anywhere they've said she was.
Nope, she was a writer. He was a chef.
Yeah, she is a writer. She has Blur's Day constantly.
Right.
Like, it's just one semi-continuous week. Like, I think she probably hits the if you run into this, I have being a caregiver, but it's really common with like retirees
Mm-hmm.
and you know, people who don't have a set Monday through Friday X to X
Mm-hmm.
repetitive schedule. You have to leave the house every day.
Right.
If you don't have that, days, weeks, and months can
Right.
really start to just come together.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I don't know. I don't know what day it is. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I'm at. Do I have a doctor's appointment? Do I have, you know, something on a calendar? Did it beep at me?
Right.
You know, was I consciously aware what the date was?
Right.
Because it doesn't matter.
Right.
Like,
Well, you know, and she says, you know, in her blog post that's quoted, loving couple who, you know, serves as big win for defense with Bernie saying, loving couple who cared for one another and had been happily married for 27 years. I promise you, there was 27 years of thoughts of killing him. And Lord knows I've had 20 years of thoughts of killing people. Different people, but still 20 years of it. But only 1.4 million in insurance.
oh, really? 1.4 million?
Yeah, I would
Okay,
have.
that's a little more.
Yeah,
Sorry, I thought it was referenced at like 100,000. Or is that what like the total outlay that they had?
yes.
Like they pulled like 35. Like I'm looking at this story, like they pulled 35,000 out of his 401k account, about half of its total amount, to pay down credit card debts and catch up on the more than $8,000 they owed on their mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it doesn't sound like they were financially unstable.
No. Sounds
You know
like
what I mean?
you're making
Like,
financial decisions that are good. I mean, you move assets where you need to move them.
yeah.
But
Like none of this seems like, it's not like they like everything was in hock, like all the utilities were on the verge of being cut off, like their whole
right,
life was plunging into chaos.
exactly.
You know what I mean? Like it's not a really good financial motive. Like, and again, like she's sitting there going, he was worth more alive.
Yeah.
You know, like,
So I don't think financial benefit was for it. I just wonder if she was on Ambien. Like there was a lot of things that were excluded from this trial that should have not been. And then she's a romance novelist, not a murder, not a whodunit novelist. So my question is, was the romance failing? So therefore, it would look bad for her. I mean, she doesn't have the best sex life because you know the author is, you know, now divorcing her loose, useless husband that can't cook her a dinner
you know,
or plays
like
TikTok too loud.
I don't know. I mean, I think to some degree, though, even in a romance novel,
Mm-hmm.
like most of those, like most romance novels, at least like the ones that tend to sell,
Right.
kind of have an overlap with like cottage mystery,
Mm-hmm.
because we have a friend that does cottage mysteries, or book reviews, sorry, on those. And like talking about those in cottage mysteries, for those who aren't like, there's true crime, that's your hardcore like blood guts, you know. Cottage mysteries are like one step below, like well below the blood guts true crime. They're
Right.
like, okay, someone died, it was kind of messy,
Right.
not, you know, and the blood was dripping from the blah 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 blah. No, that's true crime, that's hardcore fiction. Versus like cottage mysteries, which is like stuff that grandmas read, and it's not that like over the top.
Right.
But even still, you may have to have like the death of a character.
Mm-hmm.
You and generally with the romances, there's always some tragedy.
Right.
Like there's, you know, it's a tragic backstory, it's, you know, a tragedy that the character's going through before they find love.
Right.
It's a crappy relationship that they're in and trying to get out of, and then like the resolution of some horrible personal situation kind of also goes into romance.
Right.
Like otherwise, it's a really short book.
Right.
She had multiple orgasms, the end.
Right.
Like, like one page, you're done.
Right.
You're done.
Right.
That would be romance without a tragedy.
Right.
Or some conflict, something.
Right.
I can see an author of romance needing to know how to kill some characters.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, if we haven't noticed, like this whole you're gonna tell me James Bond doesn't get you a little hot and bothered?
Right.
Just a little. Forget if you care for like Pierce Brosnan or whichever Bond you are particularly fond of or not.
Mm-hmm.
The storyline
Mm-hmm.
is kind of hot.
All
And
that's shaken, not stirred is not the best way to have a martini.
Well, but that's just action. That is an action movie series. Mm-hmm. There's still an element there. Like, you don't want to be Bond just because he goes around the world killing people. Like, that's not it. Like, international man of mystery concept, it's also like the embodiment of all these things. You have, sex and violence and, these little like romance flirtatious things and, on and on and on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a multifaceted storyline that people get into.
Right.
It's not just, hi.
Right.
Like, you gotta have something there. I can see her needing to research this stuff. I can see her needing to write in different genres.
Right.
Because if all you do is romance, how long till it's just like, this book reads like the last book with different characters.
Well, that's the art of good romance novelists, is to have different flavored romances.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's move on to our other dirty laundry.
We're calling it dirty laundry now?
The Intelligener in Wheeling calls it dirty laundry.
Okay. Alrighty. So, literally it does. Dirty Laundry, latest Mooney Ethics issue reveal alleged culture of abusive office. So, yeah. So, the Office of Congressional Ethics the latest report from the Office of Congressional Ethics regarding alleged misconduct by Representative Alex Mooney, the second such report in nearly a year. Maybe few in pages, but the document is densely packed with allegations of misuse of his office.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so something tells me this is fun. So, yeah, let's get into that one. What's going on?
Right. So, first off, he took a vacation, a week-long vacation to a private island in Aruba, Aruba Island, the Caribbean, of course. And the campaign benefited more than $17,000 in donations, and him and his wife were more than $28 in campaign corporations in 2016, according to the report. The Moonies spent $60,000 on HSP since 2020, and in April, quarterly campaign funds disclosed the Federal Commission found more than $7,000 was spent on HPS between January and March. But they may be repaying themselves for the vacation they took to Acapulco.
Oh, Aruba.
Sorry. Yeah, Aruba.
Aruba.
Yes. He went to Aruba for $1,635 of the $3,300 ticket.
Yeah.
Then he's using his congressional staff for babysitting, laundry services, homework tutoring, chauffeurs, and making them pay to feed his children.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Does anyone else have a problem with this fact, like the like annoying fact? Rich people are always fucking cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, you want to talk about like, you know, entitled, you know, benefit recipients. Hi, rich people. Y'all some cheap ass bastards, okay? Like, you want us to pay for your kids to eat, you can't pay for a vacation and
Mm-hmm.
just let it be a vacation. You got to somehow try to make this a reimbursable.
Right.
Like, what the hell?
Well, not only that, but while going down to the Greenbrier to spend a weekend during some educational opportunities, he reached out and tried to find out if his 17-year-old would be allowed into the area. Also had staffers babysitting his other children. Enjoying a Ultimate Fighting Championship event in the casino, asked staff if the 17-year-old was going to be there. Other tasks include buying the family groceries, watching the family dog, helping Grace Mooney, a physician, move her medical license from Maryland to West Virginia, and with obtaining a business registration, reaching out to the Division of Vehicles for title issues for one of the Mooney's cars, repairing the Mooney's personal car, using office staff and office resources for campaign activities. Others included taking Mooney's laundry for cleaning. Sometimes the laundry would be left on the staffer's desk or leaving the laundry on the floor with the expectation that the staff would take care of it. If I leave clothes on the floor of my closet, they need to be taken to the laundry, Mooney told former staffer, according to 2 investigations. Current staffer, a financial administrator, was used by Mooney and several other House members to advise on whether spending practices for their membership respite allowance, which can only be used for an official and representative expenses. Current staffer 3 told investigators that Mooney often pushes the line to what is and what not is an allowable expense.
Oh, it sounds like he did a lot more than push the line.
Uh-huh.
Like, no, there's a lot more than just pushing the line.
Right.
Yeah, no. Like, I mean, because some of these, it's like, are you flipping kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sorry, hire a maid.
Right.
Like, what is, like, I'm sorry, I've got to know now. Like, normally I wouldn't care. Like, but I'm like, I need to know your net worth now. Like, can you, like, 10 million? Your net worth is 10 million, and you cannot.
Yeah, cannot pay for house staff, so he uses his congressional staff as his house staff.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Like, that's alrighty.
Yeah, now this is the one that is still on the ticket. Remember in November that, Alex Mooney thinks you need to do his dirty laundry and vote for him.
You're really? Like, no, I don't. Things I don't get. Things I don't get. Things I don't get.
Well, what my question is why is his wife a Maryland doctor, not a West Virginia doctor, with the need of healthcare in this state? Why was that not brought up?
Wait, did I misunderstand? I thought she had the staffers help her move her license from Maryland to West Virginia.
Yes, when it was pointed out in the last ethics complaint.
I mean, granted, I think if you're involved in an ethics complaint, probably you should jump to a conclusion that using your campaign staffers to help with one of the items in the ethics complaint. Oh,
yeah. Also, guess what? He's using his campaign funds to pay for his legal defense against his ethics. Yes, this is what happens when you donate to an idiot.
Now, that arguably, I think, is an allowed expense.
It is. But most people
I mean,
normally pay for their own defense.
well, exactly. And it is one of the problematic ideas of it is an allowable expense to use the money to defend yourself against an ethics complaint.
Right.
And it's like, well, help me out here. If you don't have a personal stake
Mm-hmm.
in the ethics complaint, like if you don't have to personally pay for that defense,
Right.
then what is the biggest deterrent for you to
Right.
not do this other than like fuck, like I don't want to be in a scandal?
Right.
If you're okay with that, if you've gotten real comfortable, which I think all of our politicians have,
Right.
like, can we just say that like there's been a real change, real shift in that whole like political scandal landscape?
Mm-hmm.
Like, did we as voters just hit a point in which like we just don't care anymore?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't care who you're screwing. Like, we've just heard it all now. Like, it's just non-pulsing.
Right.
Like, got nothing. Like, can't even get mad. Like, bully on you. Is
Mhm.
that where we're at?
Possibly?
I mean, because it seems like anymore, like it used to be, you get caught in an ethics scandal,
Mm-hmm.
you're like, you just immediately find a way to leave.
Right.
Like, you're a dead candidate in terms of like viability as a candidate. Like, you're a lame duck. You're done.
Right. Which he should
Like,
be done because he's a useless politician who has abused our congressional staff, who has abused the people of West Virginia, who has abused his power, and who continues to take advantage of people.
well, yeah, but anymore it seems like that's kind of the job description.
Right.
I mean, that seems to be where we're at, is like we just kind of expect it now.
Right.
And again, I'm not saying like history's riddled with like political figures that were horrible human beings.
Right.
Great politician,
Right.
horrible human being.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would like A1 in the list, Winston Churchill, horrible human being, wonderful politician. Was the politician that the world needed when he was in power.
Right.
Not someone you want to look up to as a role model. Okay.
Right.
We can all agree on that. Like, he was pretty crap as a human. So I try not to discount horribly like the ability of someone to be a good politician but shitty everywhere else in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
But I really struggle with when you're not a good politician and you're shitty in other parts of your life.
Right.
That's where I'm just kind of like, really? Like, you can't seem to get this together at all. Like, there's
Right.
no redeeming quality.
Right.
Like, how does it? Yeah. I just saw Brenda's comment.
Right.
Instead of the lesser of two evils, West Virginia says, hold my beer when they hit the voting booths.
Right.
It's not wrong. It's about where we're at, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I won't be voting for Mooney. I don't like the man. I find him useless. I find that his bigot burgers needs to get off my tax dollars.
Yeah, well, and his dirty laundry and like, tutoring his kids,
Right.
and paying for his vacations, and that's a lot.
Right.
That's a lot. Dude, that's a lot. So, yeah.
All right. So we've got a ripe, and I do mean ripe. Are you an asshole?
Okay.
Coming to you now.
I see it coming in. Am I the asshole for having someone go get my sister-in-law after my husband and his family refused to bring her to the wedding? My female 26, wedding was last week. It was amazing, except for this issue that occurred that caused a fallout between me and my in-laws. My husband, male 26, has a younger sister, female 19, Cindy, who's disabled and is in a wheelchair since she was 7. I noticed that my in-laws do not treat her as a priority and never take her out of the house or include her in any family event, and instead have her stay at home. I felt bad for her since the day I met her. She's sweet but looks broken and lonely. Mother-in-law started huffing because I tried to get Cindy to join us while eating dinner out or going to the beach. She, mother-in-law, flat out told me she doesn't like Cindy to be outside to protect her from getting insensitive comments from people, even relatives. But in her tone, I sensed that she was essentially trying to hide her. I talked to my husband and mother-in-law about wanting Cindy to be at the wedding. They declined, saying that she would take away the attention when it should be on us, and said that they couldn't stand having guests asking questions, making comments about her. We had an argument over this, and I insisted that she come and refused to let it go. My husband and mother-in-law finally agreed and said they'd bring her to the wedding. At the wedding, I noticed that she wasn't there as I looked closely. My husband lied, saying they brought her, but she had to be taken to the back to get her medicine. I waited and felt like he and his mom were lying and stalling. I went to ask others if they saw her, and my husband and mother-in-law finally confessed to leaving her at home. I got mad at them, then immediately had someone go over to mother-in-law's house to get Cindy. My husband and mother-in-law started arguing about what I did and said that I was acting recklessly and irrationally. I told them it wasn't okay that they excluded their own flesh and blood from the wedding, and told them that hiding her and acting like she was something to be ashamed of was appalling. Cindy arrived with my husband's aunt, who was with her at the time, and I had them sit nearby. I made sure that Cindy enjoyed her time despite feeling out of place a bit. My husband and mother-in-law were pissed at me, and mother-in-law said that what I did shows how I will be treating them for years to come by overriding their wishes and disrespecting them. I told them Cindy's presence wasn't hurting anyone, but my husband said I ruined the wedding by making a scene and fussing over this. This set the tone for the rest of the week. He's still upset with me and keeps having conversations with his mom about what happened and making me out to be the disrespectful one in this situation. Oh, you are so not the asshole. Oh, that's a hot mess. Take it away.
Oh, I think it's a hot mess. I think it's bullshit. I think it's Southern crap at the best. Just because she's disabled doesn't mean she can't enjoy something. Just because she's disabled doesn't mean that she can't go out and have fun and enjoy herself. And furthermore, it's your daughter-in-law's wedding. If she wants Queen Alibaba to appear there, then by golly, allow it to happen and shut your trap.
I mean, I'm sitting here like I'm struggling to like mentally grasp at a straw of like a devil's advocate for this one. It doesn't sound like there's any reasonable reason. Like, and it may just be the OP. Like, there are sides to all stories, but I'm not catching anything here that's like, you know, there's a really good reason that going out in public might be a bad idea. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see a health and safety risk that's being pointed out. Like, you know, like, because someone can be in a wheelchair and have other issues. And, or the reason that they are a wheelchair user is that these other issues that they have medically pose a significant risk, like the medications they're on, the conditions they have. Like, you know, they could be, in a sense, a very medically brittle human being that, you know, like they have severe reactions, like it's very easy to trigger, you know, something horrific. I'm not getting anything here. It just sounds literally like flowers in the attic.
Right.
Like, the disappointments room is where they have relegated poor Cindy.
Right.
And it's like, what the hell?
Right.
I mean, I think this marriage is over before it began.
Right.
I think the bigger question is not whether or not she was the asshole for, insisting someone bring the sister-in-law to the wedding.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's, why the hell did you continue the wedding at that point?
Right.
Like, I'm sorry, and I know hindsight 2020, or you weren't in my shoes, you don't know what it's like. But I think I would have a real, like, total breakdown bitch fit.
Right.
Like, you want to talk about bridezilla? Like, at the point in which I find out that you lied to me
Mm-hmm.
about bringing her,
Mm-hmm.
you placated me first with with agreeing to bring her, then you
Right.
didn't do it, but you lied to me about it,
Mm-hmm.
then you confessed to doing it, then you want to make me the troublemaker
Mm-hmm.
for, like, refusing to go forward with the ceremony until she's there.
Right.
Oh, there wouldn't have been a wedding for
Right.
the sister-in-law to go to, but I damn sure would be changing some names on the damn honeymoon tickets.
Right.
And, like, we're taking Cindy on a plane.
Right.
Like, we are going to have a now Voyager moment with dear Cindy.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to get her some hair, some styling, and she's going to be rocking that wheelchair in a way that no one even notices.
Right.
That's where I'd be at.
Yeah. And apparently the husband has relented and figured out, or further information from OP. His problem is she talked to her husband about it many times, and he says he doesn't agree on how Cindy's being treated. But since she is under her parents' care, then they basically call the shots. They handle all the medical expenses and other expenses that are essential for her. He said he didn't want to make waves or go against his parents' wishes, so Cindy wouldn't have to pay the price then. I call fucking adult protection today.
Yeah, here's my thing with that. Like, I mean, literally, this is like updated for the 21st century.
Mm-hmm.
Now Voyager.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm your benefactor. By God, you'll live in the shadows as I decree.
Right.
Or like a less horrific version of whatever happened to Baby Jane.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, depending upon where you want to go with it. But, like, I have so many issues with people who, no child's born perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they are born perfect, shit happens.
Right.
It's a whole fucking world out there. Shit's gonna happen. Shit's gonna hurt. Like, feelings are gonna get hurt. Dumb people are gonna say dumb things. It doesn't matter how perfect you are.
Right.
The disability is just the easiest target.
Right.
For some people, it's how short they are. For some people, it's how fat they are. For some people, it's how flamboyant they are. Whatever the hell it is, it's just the easy target.
Right.
Low-hanging fruit, dude. But you have to figure out how someone, and let them, more importantly, figure out how the hell to have a life.
Right.
Like, you can't just lock people away.
Right.
I mean, you got to move past that.
Exactly. And furthermore, Cindy needs a life.
Like, if this marriage continues, I really hope there's some, like, serious work on the in-laws
Mm-hmm.
to understand that.
Well, not only that, but we need to start planning Cindy's afterlife, because in-laws die.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think's going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
Cindy's parents. What do you think's going to happen when you're 65 years old and one of you's in a car accident and the other one has a heart attack?
Mm-hmm.
What does Cindy do then? Do you take her with you? because you're creating an adult human being that has no outside interaction.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say, doesn't work. I mean,
Right.
just kind of guessing. That doesn't really have a lot of like connection. Like, there's no support network.
Right.
Like, this poor girl was prior to this marriage 3 damn people away from ending up on the streets.
Right.
Like, you're the son and the parents go out to dinner and get involved in a car accident. What the hell is she supposed to do?
Right.
Like, if those 3 people die, what the hell does she do?
Right.
What does she know about the world? How does she survive?
Right.
Not because of her disability, but because of the disability you're creating.
Exactly.
Because you think she's too fragile.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry. I'm with Brene Brown. We came into this world wired for struggle and conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking deal with it.
Exactly.
I mean, oh my God. That one bugs me so bad because I know I won't call them a friend exactly, because I don't think anyone can call them a friend really. But it's someone I do know of that their parents have done the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, my God, it's almost Munchausen by proxy. I mean, not that there isn't a literal, legitimate medical condition,
Mm-hmm.
but that damn child is so, like, sheltered, dependent,
Right.
afraid. Not that he's a child anymore. He's my age, but all the way back.
Mm-hmm.
I just sit here and I literally worry for the day that, like, his mama drops.
Yeah.
Because what the hell do you do? Like, he's an adult human being my age.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, actually, I think he's like maybe a year older than me. But I just sit here and go, what the hell do you expect him to do? The only thing this child knows, because child, it's all I can call him. He never got to be an adult.
Right.
This child, the only thing he knows is going to church twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
And being at home told all the things he can't do.
Right.
Because of his medical condition.
And?
Like, and that's this damn woman's personality.
Exactly.
That's all she's got.
Right.
Is her poor son, who's so, ailing and physically, problemed, and, please pray for him, please pray for him, please pray for him. He's in the hospital again, please pray for him. And it's like, I understand he has, significant medical issues.
Mm-hmm.
But what the hell do you expect?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I assume you're praying to live forever or he goes first.
Mm-hmm.
Because you better be.
Right, because they're not building structure.
Yeah, because once you drop,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what he does.
Right.
I don't know how he navigates a world that isn't run by you.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's never had to. He's never paid a bill. I will guarantee you, he has never paid a bill.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't, no credit.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't, never worked.
Right.
Like, he's just trapped in permanent childhood.
Right. Yeah.
I feel bad. Like, I ran into him and his mother. Always him and his mother. A few years back, and it was weird how hard that hit me because I'd never really thought about it. Like, I felt bad for him when I was a kid because everything he went to do, his mother was on him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, you can't do that. Oh, no, you can't do that. Or, God forbid, he got out of her sight. She was instantly on his trail to find him.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like bad enough as like being, a teenager, a kid, like Jesus, this is a lot
Right.
that you have to put up with. But then running into him and not really thinking about him that much, not really thinking about his situation that much over the years until I ran into him and his mother. I ran into them and I'm suddenly realizing like there was nothing.
Right.
Like he's living the exact same life. He's practically a carbon copy of her.
Yeah.
Except, no responsibility and yes, mother. Like the Norman Bates child.
Mm-hmm.
And it just hit me so hard. It's like, it's just so sad.
It is. It very much is. So we have a romance advice one that has no comments.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Is it that new or, well, it's 2 hours. So.
It's 2 hours. It's nice and fresh.
All right. So my partner always thinks I'm angry. So my 22 non-binary partner, 26 male. So my non-binary 22 partner, 26 male, always thinks I'm angry or upset with him. I want to state first and foremost that I am autistic and he is not. So I have a bit of trouble being super expressive and often use a monotonous voice if I'm not nonverbal. He is fully aware of this, especially since I had no clue I had autism till I met him, and he kind of pushed me in the right direction to understand myself better. Yet, almost every day, we will just be having a conversation, and he will suddenly jump back if that makes sense. Like he will get defensive suddenly, or tell me to calm down, or say something like, I'm just trying to talk to you. It makes me really confused, frustrated, or sad. He often tells me I'm making him feel stupid or I'm being dismissive. I often bring it up to ask how I can fix it, but when I ask for clear examples, he can't come up with them. I've been told this a lot by my mother as a kid too, so it can be a bit triggering since my relationship with her is so complicated. I just don't know how to fix this, and it just makes me feel so lost. Please help.
One, I think you're being gaslit. Suddenly you're artistic. Suddenly, when dating this person after 22 years of age, you're suddenly some type of autism. Suddenly he thinks that you're mad and angry with him all the time. Yeah, I don't think so.
I just have so many things. Like, he diagnosed you as autistic, and like you're running with that,
Mm-hmm.
or he went, I think you might be neurodivergent. Let's go see what's going on with that. And you were like, okay, and went and saw a medical professional, and that's a diagnosis
Mm-hmm.
from a medical professional that you are autistic.
Right.
Like, that's a very, like, we're in this weird age where, like, there's so many people throwing around, like, I'm autistic, and it's not, like, and I'm not I'm so not dismissing people that, are autistic, that have ADHD, blah, blah, blah. When I say this, but there's a lot of people throwing, like, autism and depression and ADHD and PTSD and, all these things around. Sometimes it's like, yeah, if you're doing like an online thing, or you're just like, identifying with like some part
Mm-hmm.
of autism, depression, PTSD, ADHD, bipolar, whatever it is.
Right.
That's worth bringing up to a licensed medical professional.
Right.
And getting, and figuring out like what's going on. Not really your best life choice,
Right.
to just like, oh yeah, I'm autistic.
Right.
Oh yeah, I took this online quiz. It says I'm autistic.
Right.
Like, no,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. That's not how that works. And more importantly, if a partner is diagnosing you,
Right.
I take issue with that because that really can be a very weird space to be in
Mm-hmm.
because your partner, I'm assuming, is not a trained medical professional at 26.
No. Shouldn't be.
Shouldn't be.
Yeah.
I mean, they like, as in, they could be a counselor. I could see that at 26.
Yeah.
But typically, it's really bad form
Right.
to diagnose family and significant others.
Right.
Like, it's kind of a big no-no, really.
Right.
Mostly because that puts you in a very awkward relationship situation.
Mm-hmm.
But moreover, like, you're trying to work this out with him.
Right.
He can't give you examples.
Right.
Yeah, that would raise some red flags for me. Like, that sounds like you're getting gaslit in a circle. Like, if you ask for, like, okay, explain this to me. What is it I'm doing? What is it you're seeing? What is it you're experiencing? And you can't really answer that, or you jump to another subject. Yeah,
Right.
that doesn't. Mm-mm. There's a lot there.
All right. Furthermore, my bigger problem is always feeling like they're angry at you, or oh, you're mad at me, or constantly getting her to feel, well, them to feel wrong in some reason.
I mean, as someone with a diagnosed PTSD, yeah, I have issues with always feeling like people are mad at me, or that I've done something wrong, or someone's going to be angry with me. Like, sorry, it was a large part of my life experience.
Yep. And part of your vocabulary, and I keep going, no, you're not, and no need to be sorry.
But I mean, that would be in the reverse. That would be the partner.
Yeah.
Has at least an issue there. Like, I'm not diagnosing this partner. I'm just saying, to me, that sounds the more logical. Is that the partner has some issue going on,
right?
Like, something's triggering them to keep responding that way. It doesn't mean like the OP isn't or doesn't have something going on or is autistic, etc. But the bigger problem is,
right,
you're getting looped into this, like, they have their own issue, and like they're making it all about you and like what you're doing, but then they can't tell you what you're doing, so you have no hope of not doing it.
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying that everything that someone tells you, like, well, when you do this, I mean, some things are just unavoidable. It's just, okay, we need to figure out how to work around that or understand it or whatever.
Right.
And move on. But you don't just be like, you don't get to label someone with autism, not give any examples, and then get upset with them because you think they're upset with you. Like, that's so
batshit fucked up crazy.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, it just, I mean, this
OP, my relationship advice is replace the boyfriend immediately. Fire him, hire you a new one that, understands your speaking style.
I don't know that I want to throw him out.
Okay, can we beat him with a couch?
No, we can't beat him with a couch, but I think we do need to throw him down on one.
Okay.
I think it's worth it for both of them to definitely look into therapy services,
Right.
and couples counseling,
Right.
because whatever's going on here, like this is going to, one, continue to be a problem. Two, OP has already accepted this as an identity,
Mm-hmm.
which, that if it's wrong, that's going to need some back out.
Right.
Like someone's going to have to back you out of that.
Right.
And if nothing else, even if the partner's right, like their communication is bullshit, and they're just going to bounce from relationship to relationship as they keep identifying their partner has whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and they keep turning their issues, like the their own struggle, into someone else's problem causing their struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, the whole situation needs licensed professionals.
Yes. Yes, it does. All right. Well, that is the end of the show. Now here is your bulletins and your updates. Tomorrow night at 8 p.m., Tracy Vaughn will be doing a launch party.
Woohoo!
Again, give some support. She's launching her new site. It'll be up and ready, and she'll be providing readings. So, another things you're going to notice around here is there's going to be new host pages on Psyche PCS Network, because we have more hosts than just me and Joe now. So, we will be offering them up. So you can get in contact with your favorite host, follow some of the things they're doing, and interact with them. Then we have coffee and tea on Thursday. This is literally a stream all week type of week, guys. And then Mountain Bears on Friday. So it'll be a fun week. And then on Saturday, if you're in Beckley, I'm going to be over at Beckley Pride. We're going to be having a prideful time and doing some tarot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's a wild week. It's been interesting already so far, and it looks like the rest of the week's going to be awesome.
Yes.
So
It'll be
yeah.
fun. All right. So some of those people that are making this all happen,
Yes.
Yes.
Gotta wait for them to swing back around. I always started early, hoping that like it'll perfectly.
Let me see if I can do this. Thank you for your support, Beverly Walker, Mika G, Kathy, Mary Winfield, Brenda Bryant, Ashley C, and Ashley Guest, Shannon C, Shannon D, Lady Gwendolyn, the ever-loving Charles Shaw, and Dottie the Psychic. If you'd like to learn more, visit PCSPnetwork.com.
Not bad, not bad.
I know, and I didn't even have to look at it.
Oh, you didn't even look at it. What?
You're right.
Very well done. No, I look at it every time because I know my brain will just be like derp, derp, and I'll just say whatever.
Yeah.
But very good, very good. Yeah.
Yes. So we hope you guys enjoy our streaming and broadcasting central. We have grown, and it is fun. And I'm enjoying the new shows. I'm enjoying the new pop-up shows. Psychics say the darndest thing. That one, who knows what that's going to develop into. It may pop into me popping over there and just giving my unpopular opinions on the psychic community one day.
Yeah, but that was a wow first. Yeah. Like that was a wow launch.
Yeah.
Of that podcast.
Mm-hmm.
That was, and I don't know. Like I know there's been some feedback already.
Right.
All of it's been great.
Right.
Because that was a very tough show for them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you only caught a few minutes of it, it was definitely one in which I could understand.
Mm-hmm.
Like we had trigger warnings for a reason. Okay.
Yes.
Like it's a deep, dark topic. That they chose to open that one with, and we are so grateful for them for doing that one.
Right.
But I do want to say, of those who made it through and were really there for it, that was it was very healing.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's been the overwhelming feedback, is that it was just very healing.
Good.
To like honestly, openly talk about
mental
health and the struggle.
It is.
The struggle's real. It's a lot.
It's a lot. All right, guys, we are beginning Pride Month, and with Mountain Bears, we will be talking about Pumulani
Parlay.
Parlay, and the Hanky Code. We're going to have fun with that one.
Mm-hmm. That'll be fun on Friday.
So figure out what you're flagging, and we'll be talking then. All right, guys, you have a magical night. We will see you tomorrow night with the launch party of TracyVaughn.com.
Absolutely.
Stacked. You can whisper behind my back. You can show me how the odds are up against me all day long. But I've been through the fire and come out alive, and there's no more fear in my eyes. Oh, now I'm rising, and you can't bring me down. You can't stop me now.